I just started my CDL class. The mandatory 160 hours you have to take. I started it at 160 Driving Academy last Monday, which is June 20th. So I'm almost a weekend. This class, I'm gonna tell you that I'm from Pennsylvania, the Lehigh Valley, which is Allentown, Bethlehem, Eastern Pennsylvania. So the 160 Driving Academy is in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So before I went to 160 Driving Academy, I tried to go to a different place that I came across first. I'm not going to say their name, but they were highly, it was just, I don't want to use the word, it just wasn't for me. We'll put it that way. I started there. I didn't actually enroll, but I started the process, gave all my information, all this type of stuff they were giving me to run around. It was just real spooky. So I looked for a different place, so I came across 160 Driving Academy. And so far, I think it's a great program. I've only been in there for a week. I got my permit yesterday. I did the class portion first, which is 40 hours you have to do inside the classroom. So the way we do it here, and I guess everywhere else that was in the class with us, we reported to the location, which has an on-site manager / instructor. He's just there to kind of walk you through, give you all the rules and stuff like that. But when you actually get into the classroom, the class is done on a projector screen on a Zoom meeting, along with everybody else. It looked like everybody from the East Coast that was doing the same class the same week. Like I said, I'm from Pennsylvania. I've seen people in there all the way up and down the East Coast. So I think it may have been just the East Coast class of it. There's a little bit less than 200 people in the class. So the instructor for the class, a guy named Instructor James, one of the, if not the most best instructor I ever been in front of in any class I ever dealt with. I got a real estate license. I've been to community college. I got other things that I've done throughout my life besides regular school. This guy James was such a good instructor. He had the perfect mix of entertainment and education, along with his own flavor of information that he picked up along the way that he was sharing as we was going. And he got to be about my age. I'm 41 years old. He looked young black dude, but I'm saying he had to be at least my age because of stuff he was talking about, like movies he was referencing, songs, stuff like that, are from my era, so I understood everything he was saying. A lot of people might not have got some of the jokes he was doing and some of the stuff he was saying, because if you're not from that time period, from that, you know what I mean, that if you're not that age, you might not get it. But he was using a lot of movie references, like little songs and stuff, for entertainment as he was going along teaching his class. And this man did a great hell of a job, I must say. Prepared me, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, it was from Monday to Friday, this past Friday. I went on Saturday morning and passed my permit test. Didn't fail anything. The most difficult part for me, I'm a kind of person, I'm a paranoid person, you know what I mean? So I always feel like I don't know enough. So when I go to studying any kind of situation, when I'm really into it, I kind of get obsessed with it to an extent. That's just how I operate. So there was a girl in the class with me. It was just me and one girl that was in our class, and like in my classroom, like I said, we were on a Zoom meeting with other people, but in my classroom was me and one other girl. So the instructor that came on, that was at our site, he would come in, we'd ask him questions, stuff like that. And at one point I was asking him about the air brakes, the levels, the PSI levels for the different tests, the air brakes, the emergency brake, parking brake, stuff like that. And the one girl, the girl that's in there, she made like a little comment. She was like, "You're thinking too negative. You can't think like that because," and she kind of went on. But I said, "Look, this is how I learned." You know what I mean? So not even a couple minutes later, when Instructor James came onto the screen, he was doing the class, he said exactly what I said, and I felt great because it basically let me shut that girl down without having to like speak for myself. He said, you need to have a level of fear, you know what I'm saying, and a certain level of, not exactly paranoia, but you don't want to feel like you know everything, because that sometimes that will handicap you. I can't say he said it in those exact words, but he said it along those lines. So once he said that, I just looked over at that girl with a smirk, and I felt good as hell inside. This is how I do it. This is how I already think. You know what I mean? There's more than one way to skin a cat. Everybody's learning process and everybody's process of everything they do in life is not going to be the same. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that happened. So like I said, even though I felt like, and I was studying the information nonstop for the whole week. I did the quizzes we had to do, the mandatory quizzes, and I did quizzes for all the subjects that I felt like I wasn't up to par on. So I was studying extra stuff and doing extra practice tests and quizzes. So my ideology, I was going to go, because I felt like by the time the class was over, I felt like I had 70% of the information of what we had to learn down packed to the point that I can go in there, feel confident about passing at least 2 of the 3 tests you got to take. You got to take 3 tests: air brakes, combination vehicle, and general knowledge. So my plan was to go the very next day when the information that I studied was fresh in my head. That's how I learned for myself the best way to go. I said I'm going to go tomorrow, pass whatever I can pass. That way it will eliminate the information that I don't have to focus on over the next couple of days, so I can pass this course before I start the yard, which will be next Monday. Give me time to know what to focus on. So that was my plan. So I studied vigorously, hard, went over the practice tests, all the stuff. And the way I passed on the first time was that I studied all the quizzes that we did, and I did practice tests that are on the Canvas platform. If you go through 160 Driving Academy, you'll see the Canvas platform for all the stuff I felt like I wasn't up to par on. So I did practice tests for all the subjects that I felt like I was slacking in. I kept doing them over and over and over. That's all I was doing. And that got me to where I went, took the permit, passed on the first try. The most difficult part, I'm not going to sit here and say it was easy, but most of the questions on the actual permit test from all 3 subjects, 90% of the information was on the quizzes. If you're familiar with 160 Driving Academy, 90-something% of all the questions were directly from the quizzes and or the practice tests, along with everything that Instructor James was saying on the screen. There was only about, if I could remember, maybe about 5 questions that I'd never seen before on the whole entire thing. There was a couple questions that were worded kind of funny, which kind of were tricky a little bit, but as far as questions I'd never seen, information I never came across, only about 5 altogether. So I was nervous about the air brakes part, because that was the biggest part for me. I felt like it was going to be a problem, because just the PSIs for the different tests, the levels, remembering, to check the governor, had to wait to go down to about 60 PSI before the governor, not the governor, for the low pressure warning comes on, about 60 PSI. The governor should kick back in at about 100. Should keep, once the pressure PSI goes down to 100 or below, the governor should kick in at about 100 PSI to activate the compressor. The air brakes test as far as the combination vehicle, sitting still, checking the parking brake, the emergency brake, the seconds for each one, 4 seconds for the combination, 3 seconds for the straight, and all those different things. It was like a lot of numbers, so I was kind of confused, but little did I find out when I went to the actual permit, the 25 air brake questions you got to get. In Pennsylvania, you got to get 20 right to pass out of 25. I think I only had 2 wrong on the air brakes test. Then next was the 50 question general knowledge test, which I was like, wow, just knowing you got to answer 50 questions. They were all back to back. First was my air brake, then the knowledge test, then the combination test. So the 50 question general knowledge test, I think I only got about, you had to get 40 right out of 50 to pass. I think I might have got 3 or 4 wrong out of, maybe 5 I think I got wrong out of those, somewhere around there, but it wasn't too difficult at all. Then the combination test came, that was the last one. Out of 20 questions, you got to get 16 right to pass. And this one almost caught me off guard. It caught me off guard, but I passed it. I did get 4 wrong on it. And it came down to the wire. I had 15 questions answered correct. You got to get 16. So I had 15 correct, and I already had 4 questions wrong by the time I got to 15. So I was sweating. So I was panicking. I was a mess. Once I got that 4th one wrong, I was like, damn, so if I got 1 more wrong, I was going to fail that part of it. Which is, I was already exceeding past what I thought I would do anyway, but getting that far, you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, so I got to make sure So it came down to one more wrong I can get. And luckily, after I got the 4th one wrong, the next question after that happened to be a very easy question that I knew for a fact. So I hit it, passed it, and that was it. So I was inside. I was extremely happy. I had to hold my composure inside the DMV. Did not look obvious of a person that was ready to just jump up for joy and do a backflip inside of on the floor. You know what I mean? Because I was that happy. But so yeah, now I'm starting my yard test next Monday, not tomorrow, but next Monday. So far for me, I think the 160 Driving Academy has been awesome for me. You know what I mean? Even the guy Nick, who's like the instructor, the on-site manager, instructor guy, he's a real cool guy. Like I said, the place I went before that, I ain't going to say their name, which is right up the street from where I'm at now with the 160 Driving Academy. Their whole vibe was just off for me. It was just, I didn't feel welcomed. It was just totally weird. Like I said, I don't even want to use certain words. I feel like I want to use, but not even going to go that negative right now. But they were just real weird with me. So I'm very happy that I switched over to the 160 Driving Academy, because I wouldn't even have been able to start yet at the other place. I would have still been waiting for paper, all this stupid stuff. You know what I mean? So I'll come back and do an update as the weeks go on. I'm going to start my yard test. Initially, I was more worried about the written part, the class part, than the driving part. Now that I got the written part out the way, now I focused on the driving part and started going through that more than I did at first, because I didn't want to overwhelm myself with too much information. But now looking over the pre-trip inspection and all this stuff, all the different parts we got to learn, you got to inspect. Now I'm right back to square one. Like, damn, I'm the same way as with the I feel about the driving test now. Like I do right now doing Grubhub, riding around, constantly listening to YouTube videos. I came across a bunch of videos of good information, listening. Even if I can't watch it as I'm driving, I'm listening to them go through the pre-trip inspection and stuff like that, so I can kind of get it as I'm going, hear it, remember it, so it can help me out when I can sit down and look at it when I'm not driving and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So as of right now, out of 5 stars, I'm giving the 160 Driving Academy a 5. I'm not complete. I only got 1 week completed. We'll see how it goes as it's going on. But as of right now, my first week, I got everything I needed to have to go in here and pass this permit, all 3 tests on the first try, which I have done. So my experience so far at the 160 Driving Academy, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. I will check back in with y'all as the process continues, and I'll let y'all know what happens as I go.